Mr. President, the Treasurer, and Council Taro, may you take your seats, please? May we take our seats as well? Mr. Semakade Isaac, the Radical New Bar President, our Radical New Bar Council members, present here and online, our members of Uganda Law Society, both online and present here, Uganda Law Society Secretariat staff, our media, and the public online, I welcome you here to another series of the Radical New Bar Live weekly press and public engagement with the Radical New Bar. Today, our council are going to shed more light on the cases, on the litigations that have been going on against the Radical New Bar and the way forward. I appreciate the public that takes their time to listen in, and the media which has not gotten tired to always come forward when we invite them to participate in our events. Let me end here by wishing you a fruitful engagement with the Radical New Bar. Thank you. I take this opportunity now to invite Mr. Semagate Isaac, the Radical New Bar President, to come to the podium here to address all of us. You're welcome, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My sincere apologies for lateness and the technical glitches that delayed us. Nonetheless, we are grateful that you are here with us for the second series of the Radical New Bar Live, our weekly press and public engagement. Today's occasion, as we've been told, will center on litigation or court cases that have been brought against the Uganda Law Society and its Radical New Bar Council leaders, including the President personally, since we assumed helm of this 69-year-old organization. Without further ado, I will state right away that the litigation falls in 4 categories for the time being. The first and most concerning is a private prosecution brought by Byamazima Joshua and Tony Tumukunde at Buganda Road Court sometime in December last year, and it resulted in a ruling last week on the 17th of January 2025. I believe that was Friday. Ordering criminal summons to issue against me to appear before Buganda Road Court on the 29th of January this year, that is next Wednesday. I have received overwhelming messages of concern from the membership across the country and beyond, worried about my health, my status, and what's likely to happen in light of these summons. I'd like to assure all members and the public that this litigation will not yield the intended result of intimidating me or arresting me or detaining me or obstructing the Radical New Bar leadership. And that's precisely because it's baseless, and we have able response from a battery of counsel led by Mr. Derek Bazekuketa of GM Advocates, who are in charge of guaranteeing my liberty and my freedom and my stability as your president. So please join me in congratulating and thanking that team for a job well done. I am authorized to inform you that as of 21st of January 2025, that is Tuesday this week, criminal revision case number 2 of 2025 was filed in the High Court on my behalf by GM Advocates, petitioning the High Court Criminal Division to call for and examine the record of proceedings from Buganda Road Magistrates Court, presided over by His Worship Chief Magistrate Ronald Kaizi, to assess the regularity, the legality, the correctness, and the propriety of his findings, decisions, and orders. And as I speak now, the file has been called for. It has been allocated to Justice Paul Wolimba Gadenya, who will shortly provide a hearing date that supersedes any process in the lower court. The grounds for the application are 12. The Land Chief Magistrate acted illegally and without jurisdiction by entertaining the respondent's complaint, drawing up a charge, and issuing summons threatening my liberty and occasioning a miscarriage of justice. In other words, he acted without proper authority. It will be for the lawyers to go in depth, but the long and short of it is that we are concerned about the egregious use of judicial power, weaponizing the courts through private prosecutions that are premature and intended to abuse court process. There are several decisions of the High Court that specify private prosecutions as a last resort remedy after the relevant officers, such as police, which are the Constitutional Investigation Agency, and the Office of the DPP, who are the official prosecutors, after they failed to treat you fairly and justly as a complainant, skipping them is not conventional use of the criminal justice system. Magistrates should not be playing the role of investigator, prosecutor, and adjudicator as a matter of routine. Justice, His Worship Kaizi's enthusiasm to receive complaints from cantankerous individuals who wants to settle scores at the bar is greatly frowned upon and is going to be heavily criticized before the High Court. Secondly, His Worship Kaizi improperly failed to dismiss a denied complaint on oath by the intending private prosecutors. Thirdly, he erred in law by declining my request to cross-examine Joshua Byamazima on an affidavit in reply that he filed and raised more questions than answers. Fourthly, he wrongly concluded that there was no breach of the duty of candor by the cantankerous couple. The duty of candor is a legal principle that if you appear before a magistrate expecting to speak alone, ex parte, in the absence of another person against whom you seek an order, you must tell the court everything, including facts that may not be in favor of your case. There is so much they left out. For instance, they didn't inform the Buganda Road Court Chief Magistrate that they had cases against me in the civil division where they are disagreeing over our political action, my political action, in the name of the Uganda Law Society. Namely, the decision we took through Executive Order RNB number 1 of 2024 to expel the Attorney General and the Solicitor General from the US Governing Council. They are in court in the civil division, making the case on behalf of the Attorney General and the Solicitor General as aggrieved parties. In other words, they are claiming a grievance on behalf of a public official. They are doing the same thing in the Uganda Road Court, claiming grievance on behalf of another public official, the DPP, and many other things that they left out, which the lawyers will argue on the date given in the High Court. Fifthly, he improperly found that the respondents met the reasonable and probable cause threshold under Section 42, subsection 3 of the Magistrates Court Act. Reasonable and probable cause is a legal standard which sieves baseless complaints. It was ignored. In this particular case, Joshua Byamazima and Tony Tumukunde are not witnesses to the alleged offense. They're not eyewitnesses. They do not have any witnesses to call. They are hoping witnesses will turn up, but they gave the court no witness they know of. They presented only a flash disk. They don't know its author, the author of the video evidence they call evidence. How do they intend to lead it into evidence and so on? So these are very serious legal matters, sensitive, and they affect the rights of everybody. Judges have ruled in several cases across the country how to manage electronic evidence. Incidentally, or regrettably, and this is the sixth complaint, His Worship Kaizi disregarded Section 6, subsection 2, clause A, Section 7, subsection 1, Section 7, subsection 2 and Section 7, subsection 4 of the Electronic Transactions Act in considering the video evidence of the intending private prosecutors. Now, the Electronic Transactions Act sets, again, another legal standard. If you have electronic evidence, how do you present it before a police officer, a court official, or even any other statutory body to make a decision before it's called evidence? Now that we live in the digital age, the rule is called seeing is not believing. The rule of evidence in managing digital evidence is called seeing is not believing. So there has to be a scientific method of believing what we see in a digital form. That basic rule was ignored. Are we supposed to take it lying down? I don't think so. The 7th complaint is that His Worship Kaizi erred in holding that a prima facie case was established against me under Section 115, subsection 3 of the Penal Code Act. I think I've read the ruling, and His Worship unreservedly spoke of how the case had been proved against me, even at that level. I think that language invites censure. The 8th complaint is that His Worship Kaizi failed to consider the context, the symbolism, and the constitutional protections of the words in question, thereby occasioning a miscarriage of justice. In his view, he relied on what he called the primary meaning, or the literal meaning of words. But every scholar of literature will tell you words have more than one meaning. They have a literal meaning and a symbolic meaning. He did not investigate the symbolic meaning of the words in question, which is ironic for a judicial officer who is supposed to be an expert of all experts. The context was ignored, and the constitutional protections. Certain words have strong constitutional protections given their context. In this case, political speech and political opinion is entirely, absolutely protected under the Constitution. Opinions can create no liability. Only facts do, or alleged facts. But opinions are fair game. That's a principle I guess we shall have to make before the High Court and have it resolved for the benefit of all Ugandans, so that we can have expanded freedom of speech. The 9th complaint is that he secretly consulted a purported parish chief or ward administrator whose findings did not confirm the respondent's complaint, and improperly relied on this consultation. Now, we were shocked to learn from the ruling that after my lawyers had presented the case sometime in December, the magistrate went on his own investigation behind their back, and he brought the results of this investigation into the record and read it out to them. I think you all understand the principle that justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. That principle was breached, and we take issue with the procedure breach by the Land Chief Magistrate of Uganda Road. 10th complaint is that he wrongly found that Joshua and Tony's complaint was neither vexatious nor frivolous. 11th complaint is that he erred in holding that the respondent's application was not an abuse of court process. And lastly, he improperly declined to recuse himself from the proceedings. Those of you who will have a chance to attend the High Court case, you will hear for the first time very shocking allegations of judicial interference. Senior lawyers calling a magistrate and directing him on how to rule, and the magistrate reporting them to my lawyers, and then pretending that this occasion didn't happen. We reported this to the chief registrar, and we expect it to be transparently dealt with. Now, confronted with this information, the magistrate chose to be defensive. But you see, public trust is not something the radical new bar is going to take for granted. We are here to repair public trust, and there's no one we shall save from scrutiny. So our complaint reports a transaction most foul known as judicial interference, in which the magistrate was the participant, he's the accused, and he should have recused himself so that other persons who have not been accused of similar acts of judicial interference, of condoning such interference, can hear the case. But, he went ahead with this ruling, and you can see the errors. We are asking the High Court to reverse or set aside the two rulings of His Worship Kaizi of the 17th January, made on 17th January 2025. Every decision, finding, and order therein, including the summons issued against me, and to dismiss the complaint that was filed by Joshua Byamazima and Tony Tumukunde with costs and compensation. Alternatively, for the court to stay the private prosecution entirely as an abuse of process and discharge me from those proceedings. So you can read my lips, you can gauge my attitude to this process. I'm not scared. I have been in this position many times throughout my professional career. I have survived it before, I will survive it again. But this time, we have a warning for all public officials who think they can weaponize government and weaponize the judiciary to intimidate, to arrest, to prosecute the head of the bar. It was Mike Tyson, who said everybody has got a plan until they get whacked, punched in the face. I am in fighting mode, and I'll fight to the hilt anybody that thinks they can continue behavior that has been overwhelmingly condemned by members of the bar, and to continue it against me. They'll be misguided. So that is the latest update on the private prosecution. You can share with some of our colleagues who may want those details. Pass it around. The second case or class of case is judicial review case. A judicial review case that was again filed by Joshua Byamazima and Tony Tumukunde in the Civil Division of the High Court sometime in November of last year, and allocated to Justice Esther Nambayo. Last Friday, on the 17th of January 2025, I'm told just an hour after the Kaizi rulings, Judge Esther Nambayo issued a ruling in one of these cases declining my request and the Law Society's request to add the Attorney General as a party to this litigation, where some two members of the bar are crying on his behalf as having been aggrieved by our expulsion decision. The argument is simple. Let the Attorney General, if he's man enough, speak for himself. To what extent was he aggrieved by our expulsion decision? And to what extent is he determined to return to our governing council? If he thinks he ever wishes to return, let him say it. What does it benefit the government to sit in our governing council in the year 2025? What does it benefit the government? Constituted under the 1995 Constitution, it's understandable why the government in 1956 may have wanted to put its boot on the neck of the governing council of the Uganda Law Society. It's not understandable in 2024 or 2025 for the government to want to maintain the same colonial boot on the neck of an independent legal profession. So if Chiliowa Chiwanuka Nsumikambi Mugambe wishes to maintain a government boot on my neck as the president of the society, as the head of an independent bar, let him say so under his own hand and be cross-examined on his understanding of such basic principles as independence of the legal profession. But if he's cowardly, he should not hide behind recent entrants to the bar, like Joshua Byamazima, Antonio Tumukunde, who, of course, cannot understand these higher order principles of independence of the legal profession. It's understandable for them to be used as rags and doormats. They probably won't be in the legal profession long enough to understand the meaning of these foundational principles. They are just travelers. But Chilewa Shwanuka, if he's a fellow traveler and he has joined the cause with these people, we wanted him to come to court and join cause with these travelers and embarrass himself transparently. Surprisingly, the judge saved him this embarrassment and insists that we argue the case without him. Of course, we shall appeal. There shall be no proceedings on the judicial review case concerning our executive order Rnb number 1 of 2024 without Chilewa Chiwanuka's affidavit, or without the affidavit of whoever holds the office of Attorney General. This matter is not personal or private. It's official, statutory, constitutional. It goes to the heart. It goes to the root of international best practice for national bar associations. This matter spotlights UN recommendations for independence of judges and lawyers. The independence of the legal profession is not something we should toy with. It is a principle, a virtue for which we must go to battle. Okay? If we are to maintain the rule of law, if the rule of law is to be alive in this country, the primary foundation is an independent legal profession. So, our lead counsel on this matter, Mr. Jude Byamukama, is preparing the necessary paperwork to ensure that the decision taken by Judge Esther Nambayo last week is challenged viciously and fiercely on that matter. You will also be pleased to know that the same issue is before the Constitutional Court, and we are seeking to get a Constitutional Court date in Constitutional Petition number 16 of 2024, Isaac Chimaze Semakade versus the Attorney General and Chidiowa Kansumi Kambi Mugambe as a person, so that he can continue to defend why he wants to sit in the ULS Governing Council as a public official. Does he understand these foundational principles, or he doesn't? So there is nowhere to hide, Nsumi Kambi. There's nowhere to hide. You will be held accountable for this misnomer, this colonial relic. If you want to keep clutching on this relic, come and claim it. But as for us in the Radical New Bar, we have done away with it, and we don't think that this is reversible. This decision has the democratic support of the Uganda Law Society, and that should sink in. On this note, I would like to thank our main guest today, Advocate Robert Rutaro, who has agreed to join us and speak to a very important matter about unity and the case for reconciliation at the bar. I don't want to preempt what he's going to say, but let me speak to this essential fact. Last year, Mr. Robert Rutaro also filed an application in the judicial review application in the High Court. I think he was the first to challenge our executive action taken on the 14th of October 2024, Executive Order Rnb number 1 of 2024, expelling the Attorney General and the Solicitor General and their representatives from the ULS Governing Council. He started this case properly. We responded to it, and unlike Joshua Byamazima and Tony Tumukunde, Mr. Rutaro engaged fully with our response to his case, and professionally and dispassionately. And he took the point that after greater scrutiny, after much reflection, there is some wisdom in what we are saying. He took the point that it's courageous and somewhat confusing, but it's not unlawful. And he yielded to the fact that it also seems to have democratic support. Now, I personally, on behalf of the Radical New Bar Governing Council, I convey our unreserved support and gratitude for the similar act of courage on your part to make the decision you did to compromise and withdraw your suit unreservedly with our council during the early days of the hearing before this matter could go far. You saved the bar a lot of time, a lot of money. These litigations have consequences, financial, technical, organizational as well. But above all else, you sowed the seeds for reconciliation on which we want to build. So I once again commend you for that leadership displayed. It did not diminish you in any way. In any case, It has elevated you. Because this is what independence of the legal profession means. Independence of the legal profession is enjoyed and manifested in two ways. First and foremost, our members are independent, and we defend their independence of action, their freedom to act, including taking action against us. It's encouraged here. At the bar, dissent and disagreement is normal. And it is responded to with argument and not retaliation or reprisal, intimidation, or skullduggery. No. So, I commend you for being open to persuasion and for treating our arguments with respect. You don't have to entirely agree with them. You just yielded to our argument to have that day. For reasons that you processed independently as our member. So we now have one challenge left, the Joshua Biamazimand Tumukunde challenge, and I hope they are engaging independently with their minds. If they have a modicum of intelligence of their own. But if they are under the strings of a puppeteer, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. A lawyer must not be under the prison of a puppeteer. And once you show yourself to be under the prison of a puppeteer as a lawyer, your reputation goes, because clients are watching and they're saying, what kind of lawyer is that who cannot independently assess an argument from the other side? What kind of lawyer is that who takes orders from above? So, Mr. Rutaro, thank you for that commendable action. The third class of case that we have concerns litigation in the Court of Appeal, filed by the Uganda Law Society against a number of people. Mugisha Hashim Mugisha, Fiona Wall Nabasa, Philip Monavi, and Jeffrey Triamsima. These are the people against whom we have appealed as the Uganda Law Society, myself, our council member Eastern, Eddie Nangulu, and our chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Moses Mwase. I think the background of the matter is that Uganda Law Society and 3 of its officials were sued in the High Court in litigation that was handled by Judge Sekana, and it resulted into an injunction that stopped our extraordinary general meeting that was scheduled for the 17th of December to conduct 3 kinds of business. Number 1, the removal of 2 council members who had engaged in acts of gross indiscipline and unprecedented breaches of integrity. Unashamedly, unreservedly, unapologetically. 2, to conduct the historic election of ULS representatives to the Judicial Service Commission, an election Uganda Society members haven't been permitted to conduct in 29 years since 29 years since the promulgation of the 1995 Constitution. the term of office of the Judicial Service Commission representatives lapsed yesterday. The 21st of January. That was Tuesday. So we have vacancies. We have vacancies in the most important constitutional body, which establishes the judiciary, checks the judiciary, and ensures that justice works like clockwork for Ugandans. So we respect the rule of law, we respect official legal processes, but we also condemn the weaponization of the judiciary by elements that are up to no good except pointless, score settling. That litigation that came from the High Court was removed into the Court of Appeal for review, and our lead counsel for the Radical New Bar, Mr. Jude Byamukama, is undertaking steps to ensure that it has a date before a full panel that can hear it quickly. We should have been before the Court of Appeal on the 15th of January this year, but all court matters were affected by the judiciary's National Court case census, which occurred between the 13th and 15th of January. So we lost that day. So we have to get the litigation back in the docket of the Court of Appeal. Lastly, there's litigation before the High Court, before Judge Sekana. And I don't understand why Judge Sekana continues to conduct this litigation well knowing that he has, forgive me, well knowing that the bar has taken issue with his court order before the appellate court, but also it has asked him to recuse himself in light of the overreach, manifest overreach we recognized in his ruling of the 13th of December last year. I don't want to say much about Justice Sekana except to reinstate that he's under investigation by the bar. Complaints are still coming in, and it's up to him to continue to make a mess of his career. For us at the Radical New Bar, we shall remain sane and sober and unreserved in calling out judicial overreach wherever we see it. I think that is it for now. I would like to take a few questions before I invite our main guest and guest speaker, Mr. Rutaro, to speak to us. Yes, Judith, from Uganda Radio Network. Should give you the mic.
Check. Thank you. Mr. President, now that Mr. Rutaro is here, I would also want to know what happened to the case that he first filed when you had issues with Justice Sekana following the jailing of Mr. Mari Mabirizi. I want to know what happened of that case. Did he withdraw? Did the case collapse? Was it dismissed? I lost track somewhere along the line, so I would like to understand. Did you also reconcile on that? Because previously I also heard that you had been instructed to work for a civil public office on his behalf to file that matter. So I want you to clarify. Thank you.
All right.
Another one with a question, especially the media.
None? Are there some questions? Can you read them? Are there questions online? No, I think that's for Mr. Rutaro. He will address it in his speech. None? All right, thank you very much. At this juncture, colleagues, allow me to invite with great honor my land friend, Mr. Robert Rutaro. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President, Isaac Chimeze Semakade, my great friend, I take this honor and pleasure for the first time to congratulate you upon your election as our president. What I know of you, Isaac, is that you are an extremely brilliant young man. Extremely brilliant. And speaking of your brilliancy, it reminds me of our days at Lumumba, Makerere University, when I was in first year, and Professor Lokonyango gave us a very tough question for coursework in constitutional law. And when I consulted who could help me discuss that question, I was guided to you. I came to your room, got you seated on a mat, and you invited me to the mat, and we discussed. I scored 90% in that coursework. And I think I was the best in that subject, and Professor Lokonyango thanked me, not knowing. He was thanking Isaac. But also, it reminds me of your kindness, humbleness. Again, around that time, before my residence at the university had not been regularized and had trouble commuting from home to the university, you consulted with a few of your colleagues and you accommodated me in Rumba Hall as a Mufara. No, some of you are Makererians, you know who Mufaras are. Somebody irregularly residing on a campus, in campus accommodation, when you're not. But Isaac and a few of his friends, my brother Dan Gantungo, and discussed and said, no, this is our brother, let's accommodate him. So one night I would be in Isaac's room, another night I'd be in my brother's room until I regularized my own accommodation and I was accommodated in Nkrumah Hall. And again, on our personal relationship, when I'm in first year, Isaac was the president of Makerere Law Society. And from my discussion, when I met him in his room and he guided me and the brilliance and the way he was leading us, I was inspired to contest for the same office. And in 2006, with the support of Isaac, I was elected to replace him as the president of the law school. And later in 2008, even when Isaac had left the university, he was the elder I could ever rely on before I did anything I consult. So I wanted to stand for guild president on the NRM ticket. And I consulted Isaac. He said we can do it. He supported me and we were successful. We won that election. In 2008, I was elected the guild president with his support and guidance. Thank you so much, Isaac. I cannot forget all that. Now, on the 28th day of September 2024, there was a bus full of members and who happened to be the Uganda Law Society members seated in the bus, but the bus had no driver after the then driver had retired. And so a few candidates offered themselves for consideration as the drivers of the bus. The successful candidate was Isaac. As we speak, Isaac is driving us in this bus of Uganda Law Society. Come again, back on. Oh, truck. Oh, it's a truck. The truck of Uganda Law Society. Our driver is Isaac. And he's driving us really fast. But that's okay, because he seems to be experienced and he knows all what he's doing and he's bending all corners well. For us as members of the society, we are there. We are his passengers and he's driving. Now, I want you to draw a picture. When the passengers of the bus connive to fight the passenger, to fight the driver. When the passengers of the bus connive to fight the driver, who is likely to suffer from this fight? Who is the hero? Who is the loser and who is the winner? If this bus crash, chances are that it's going to crash. The truck, again, it's a truck. If the passengers on the truck are fighting the driver, chances are that this truck is going to crash, almost definitely. Because one is pulling the driver's arm here, another is pulling his leg here, one is touching his head, so the driver cannot drive properly. The truck is going to crash. Chances are that we are all likely to be victims of this crash. And so reasonableness demands that the passengers be patient. Even when a driver makes a mistake, some of these drivers, you can overtake in a blind corner. Okay, we say, driver, kendezo omuliro. So we can talk to the driver. Mr. President, it's on record, and I won't pretend about it. I did not support you during the elections. I supported another driver. But you defeated us very, very badly. And when you defeated us, we didn't take it in good faith. So I, together with a few colleagues, including Joshua Byamazima, Tony Tumukunde, and a few other silent commanders whom I will not mention for confidentiality purposes, consulted among ourselves and took a decision to form a rebel group called the Uganda Bar Association, with the sole purpose of fighting and frustrating you and your government. But upon reflection, and with the knowledge of the passengers in the truck, we think we need to give our driver peace of mind to drive us. When your time comes and get tired, you also get off the truck, and maybe I'll also drive. So This rebel group called the Uganda Bar Association, we appointed ourselves the commanders, the three of us, as I mentioned, but with me as the chief commander. Today, I have reflected on our actions, not today, actually a few weeks back, which led me to the action, Mr. President, you were just appreciating me for. I reflected on our actions and realized we are not doing ourselves justice. When we fight Isaac, we are not fighting Isaac, we are fighting the society. We are fighting ourselves. We are passengers in the truck being driven by our driver, Mr. Isaac. If this truck crashes, we are all bound to be in trouble. So I surrendered, said, no, it's better we work together for the good of our fraternity as a family. And on that note, I want to take this opportunity to command and direct all rebels, put your weapons down. Put your guns down, and those of you who refuse and remain in the rebellion, you are going to disarm you. We are joining the government of Isaac Kimaze Semakade. So let us stop fighting. Because this fighting is not useful. Let us give our president and his administration a chance to deliver on their mandate. If the president introduces any unpopular policies, we have time to undo these policies by the administration that will come after him. You see what's happening in America, the new era of Mr. Donald Trump, President Donald Trump. On his first night of office, he signed executive orders undoing over 80 actions of his previous administration, of President Biden. So if Isaac's administration does anything we think is unpopular, we have a chance to undo it by executive orders. It's good you have introduced the person who comes before you will sign executive order undoing what you've done. That's if it's unpopular. But even before then, we have other remedies that we can convene an extraordinary meeting and tell you, Mr. President, and speak to you that, you know, this policy is not popular. Please reconsider revisiting it, or we disapprove of it, because at the end of the day, with the members, we are very serious decision makers in this thing. So, Mr. President, as I conclude, I want to speak to your relationship with our senior brother and colleague, the Attorney General of Uganda, Mr. Kiriowa Kiwanuka. One, to him as a person, but also his office. I think the issues you raise with the office of the Attorney General are very pertinent issues. And those are issues that deserve serious discussion. So I want to take this opportunity to invite and appeal to our senior brother, the Attorney General, to listen to our president. Our president is not asking you for food, because I'm sure he has enough to eat for him and his children and wife. But he's asking you and raising concerns that affect us as lawyers. I've not seen any of your communication to the Attorney General. where you're asking for personal favors, but rather you're speaking for the society and for the good of the society. Please, Attorney General, listen to us. When you don't listen to Semakadi, you don't listen to the lawyers. Stop dismissing our concerns through our president as child's antics, whatever you call them. And please take this issue seriously, because I know for a fact a lot of lawyers are not happy. A lot of lawyers are not happy in this town, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to speak this. You see us in courts, we are very smart people, in suits rather, but we are not happy and we are very broke. So when we have some of these issues and we want you, Attorney General, as the representative of the government and the head of our bar, before you had issues with our president, these issues merit consideration. The welfare of the lawyers in this town, in this country, is appalling. And we know you have capacity as Attorney General to do something about it. Please give our president audience, listen to him, sit with him, discuss these matters, and take decisions for the good and benefit of the lawyers in Uganda and the Uganda Law Society. Please pay attention to our issues that we raise through our president. And then, Mr. President, the other issue I want to speak to is the need of harmony, trust, and unity of your team as the council. It's very important. I've been a leader before you. You've been a leader before, Mr. President, before this one. We all know teamwork is critical if a leader is going to deliver meaningfully on their mandate. On that note, I appeal to my brothers, Philip Munabi and Triamusima Godfrey, who happen to be my very good friends. I don't know them as members of my rebel group because they didn't register with me. Unless they are moles in your government, but I don't know why they would, these colleagues would want to throw you out in a democratically elected office and conventionally. Because if these two brothers of mine could reflect in their action, of course, they know they don't have authority to throw out a president that's elected democratically by the majority of the membership. They don't have that authority. But if you're working for me and I didn't know, now I've surrendered, I'm in government, so please also come on table with the president and work with him. It's very important that Philip and Godfrey, you reconcile with your president for the unity of the society. Because you are the elephants, Mr. President. You and your council. And with the members and your subjects, we are the grass. So when the elephants fight, who suffers? It is us, the grass, who are suffering. So please stop this hostility and animosity towards our president and your president, of course. Please work with him, support him, so that you can deliver on your manifesto for the good of the society. As I conclude, Mr. President, I pledge to you to demobilize all rebels and collect all weapons and put them down. I appeal to my fellow commanders, to Mukunde and Biamazima, please lay your tools and weapons down and give our president a chance. I hereby dissolve Uganda Bar Association officially. All members in the WhatsApp groups of Uganda Bar Association exit immediately. And those of you who remain there, I am going to exit you by close of business today. It's good I'm the honorary administrator of those groups, so you cannot exit me before I exit you. I'm closing down those groups, Mr. President, by close of business today. We should join the conventional groups that mean well for you and your administration. I pledge total loyalty and support to you and your administration. I also pledge to do my best to foster reconciliation between you and whoever may be having issues with you, including these two commanders remaining in the bush.
Thank you so much. Let's all clap hands for Council as we are standing up. Standing ovation. Let's give Council a standing ovation. Standing ovation means that we clap as we are standing.
My last word, and it's good, Mr. President, you're here. I wish you good luck in your administration. May the good Lord bless Uganda Law Society, and good Lord bless our President, Isaac. Bless and protect you.
Thank you very much, Council Robert Rutaro and the Treasurer.
Let's once again clap for our guest. At this juncture, I'll be handling the closing session. The speech that has been given by Councillor Robert Rutaro reminds me of the prodigal son. The prodigal son basically is the son that had actually diverted from the main path, but eventually came back and found light. Mr. Rutaro, Councillor Rutaro, I welcome you to the Radical New Bar. Allow me thank the President for this insightful session that is aimed at giving advocates legal insights, live updates of what transpires in the legal field. Allow me thank the members of Uganda Law Society, both present and online, that have followed and continue to follow this session. Thank you, members of media. Thank you, members of media, members of the Secretariat for organizing this wonderful session. Basically, this session has been about highlighting the court cases that are impacting on the progress of the society, the court cases that are interrupting the day-to-day running of the society, especially the judicial review applications that were lodged by Tony Tumukunde and Joshua Byamazima. This application deprives the society of a chance to elect its members. As you all know, right now we stand in a very crucial moment where the mandate of the current representatives of the society at the Judicial Service Commission has come to an end. I call upon such members to follow the advice that has been given by our guest. Any fights within the society will only drag the society in a pit. Members of the society, especially Tony Tumukonde and Joshua Biamazima, do not allow your record to be a record that brought the society to a pit. A record that deprived the members of the society to elect its representatives. This takes me to the issue of Section 10 of the Uganda Law Society Act. Section 10 basically provides, and it talks about one of the most important issues. It talks about one of the most important issues, and that is the constitution or the quorum of the Executive Council of the society. As you all know, best practices, international best practices provide for the autonomy of Uganda Law Society. It has always been said, and it continues to be said, that the society should be autonomy. It should carry out its activities. It should carry out its mandate without any interruption from any entity, especially in our situation, the government of Uganda. This is what the president of the Uganda Law Society is trying to bring forward and has always brought forward, that the society should be independent. The president is saying the society should be independent, and then some members of the society are saying, no, the society should never be independent. As we fight for the independence of the judiciary, that judges should be autonomous in their decision making, it's the same way we are saying the society should be autonomous in advising the government. We shouldn't face any interruptions from any third party. Today at 3 p.m., I want to make this announcement that today, this very day, at 3:30 p.m., before Justice Chiriabwire, there is an ongoing mediation that shall commence in respect to the two appeals that have just been elaborated by Mr. President. This has been filed by the Uganda Law Society through its officials, that is Council Member Eastern, Mr. Nanguru Edimand, the East Chairman, Mr. Mwase, against Mugisha Muntu, against Hashim Mugisha. We ask all members of the Uganda Law Society to support this process. This is a process of mediation that is intended to ensure that parties can have an amicable settlement over this matter and pave way for the future of the society. So we call upon all members, those who can attend, those who can support both physical, even spiritual entertainment, to ensure that at the end of the day, the society gets and moves as directed by the president. This time I will be making or closing this session. I don't know if there are any questions that would like clarity on by the members who are seated here or members that are online. the question of the matter by Mr. Mavilis, you can just switch on. Maybe you can come and
Thank you, Madam Judith, for that question. You're asking about my case that I earlier on filed before Mr. President was actually elected president. That case, I withdrew it also. I withdrew it as well. So I have no case in court. I have no case against Mr. President. I instructed my lawyers to withdraw any form of action that I had filed against him, and even abandon instructions of filing new actions that I had wanted to file. Yeah, but one last thing, now that I have the microphone, Mr. President, I offer you one thing, to give you legal service for no pay. I want to join your legal team, and if I'm fighting against my fellow rebels, then they will be on their side, I'll be on this side, and we'll speak the same language. Maybe I speak their language more than you do, so.
Thank you so much for that clarity. Thank you for joining the legal team. I hope your question has been answered. Yeah, are there any other questions that, yes? Yes.
Well, I guess I just want to advert to the 20 years of a lived experience we share, to which my brother, my land friend Robert, spoke to. There is so much of brotherly love between us, and sibling rivalry that we have enjoyed in 20 years. But we are at this critical juncture where we have to yield to a greater cause, a generational cause, as leaders, as co-leaders. He has great experience on the pulpit than I have, and a great future ahead of him as well. And it's a welcome gesture that he has said the words he had said today to ensure that my most pivotal leadership mission at hand can be smooth sailing. I am very edified today to see the spark of courage and charisma return on his face. This is the person I invited into my room, as he said, to begin a life. And this is our life. This is our time. Let's bask in the pain and pleasure together. I thank you.
If there are any questions.
Yes, there is a question online. Immaculate Nambi, she's asking President that you gave an ultimatum to Justice Kabito of Judicial Service Commission to produce the Judicial Service Commission report on complaints against Justice Sekana by 15th of January. She's asking, have you received the report? And if not, what should they expect next?
we didn't get a report from Justice Kabito. And unfortunately, his term of office ended 6 days after the ultimatum. So we shall have to get our report from the incoming Judicial Service Commission, in which, for the first time ever, we shall have our independently elected Law Society nominees sitting in the commission, and they will be able to report back to the Radical New Bar Council and the membership as the first call of duty. That said, there will be a retreat starting next week, a council retreat to discuss and explore options available to the Law Society as regards not just Judge Sekana, but all other judges against whom there are pending complaints and there is suspicion of having been covered up for by the outgoing Judicial Service Commission. So we shall have a retreat to review the 8 years of the outgoing commission and to prepare a task sheet for the incoming Judicial Service Commission and other relevant agencies in the interim. So, colleague, give us a chance to come from the retreat, and there will be a briefing after the retreat, and there will be a big speech for the bar in light of the new lawyer. So at this point, I defer to the wisdom of what council shall decide in the retreat. I have no further comment. Thank you.
There is a hand on Zoom. You can probably check and give the person a hand on Zoom. Give the person an audience on Zoom. Kindly check out for the person.
Yes, Awanga Jime, you can unmute and forward your question. Awanga Jime.
I was not asking any question. I think my phone inadvertently pressed the unmute.
Okay, the rest online, there are comments. Someone is saying, I want to thank our president for standing firm and uplifting us about the leadership of our society. And I would like to also bring to members' attention that our vice president, our most perpendicular vice president, is attending online, Mr. Anthony Asimwe. He's watching the proceedings and is attending online. And we also have with us the spokesperson of the Back on Track think tank, Madam Goretti Council. You can stand up for recognition. She's also here with us. What? Yes, thank you so much. The rest are comments. Okay. We shall be displaying them. Kukunda has some question. I can give you some chance. Come and forward your question.
Thank you. Mr. President, I have remembered something. When we were here last week, you told us that you had written to the Chief Justice and you are to lead a team of very many people, including Kalamajongs, to the Chief Justice. So I need an update on what happened, because you said it would be this week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judith, for that question. To be specific, I will lead a high-level delegation of the bar. I do not want to give the Chief Justice the impression I'm going to stampede him in the colorful memory in which you had registered it. But yes, it will be a highly representative delegation of the bar, members with heft, and cross-country representation, including some of our finest members from Karamoja region, which has the highest stake in the matter we have to put before the Chief Justice. I received a call on Monday from one of the protocol officers that the meeting is received a green light, but the Chief Justice had just returned from a week-long judicial retreat, and they requested for a little more patience as they fix that date and the venue for this auspicious occasion. So, just like you, I'm none the wiser. I must abide by the protocol of the Judiciary Top Management to advise us. Today is Thursday? Yeah, they did indicate that it will probably be next week. It has to happen before the judges return to another retreat. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, for that update. As we come to an end, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your participation. As you all know, participation is what makes this very meaningful. Let's reflect on what the chief guest and Mr. President have talked about. I pick something very important: reconciliation. Let's look forward towards reconciliation and bringing the society back to its track. Yes. There is a question online. Okay.
Yes, thank you. The most perpendicular treasurer of our society. Most perpendicular is the word. There are some comments from some members attending to us online. We have on X, thoughtful thread. He says, confident leader. I think that one goes to our president. Cool, bro. Keep doing what you are doing. Don't let fearmongers hold you back. That is a very good, encouraging comment. And then we have on Zoom, Oyunji Onono Query. Apologies if I mispronounce the name. He's saying that everything good and bad have time span. That this is the time to reflect. Then another one is hashtagging RNB, saying RNB. Wow. I think those are the comments that we have got online. Mr. Treasurer, take on.
Okay, thank you so much. Members online, thanks for the comments. I would like to bring this to an end. Thank you so much for your time.